Good evening. This is The Big Debate, and I'm your host, Iguma Gabriel. Glad you can join us for this edition of the show. Today marks the 7th day of the industrial action called by UNATU, that is the Uganda National Teachers Association, asking their members to stay away from the schools and the classrooms for what they're calling a breach of an agreement with government, where government was supposed to enhance the pay for all teachers. What has happened is that government is enhancing the salaries, but first the salaries of the science teachers. UNATU and its members have taken issue with that, claiming that they got into an agreement with government and all teachers at whatever level, regardless of what they are teaching, should be enhanced. Well, the science teachers now claim that these members of UNATU are negotiating in bad faith, to the effect that they want the science teachers to lose this enhancement in favor of either all of them staying at the current level or what has been enhanced being distributed amongst all the teaching members. The president did invite the stakeholders for a meeting, and during this meeting, the president instructed the ministries of Education, Finance, and Public Service to review the enhancement. This gave hope, especially to the UNATU members. But today, a letter has been sent out to the Secretary General of UNATU. This letter comes from or is signed by the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Public Service, stating that the teachers should return to their duty stations by the 24th. That's in 2 days, or they risk losing their positions. Well, how are the teachers going to react to this? We discuss those issues and more on The Big Debate tonight. Would like you to get in touch with us throughout the show, giving your views. But now, let's meet our panelists.
Our panel tonight. Aaron Mugaiga is the Secretary General of the Uganda Professional Science Teachers Union. He's an educationist and Pan-Africanist. Mugaiga is a seasoned scientist who has lectured emerging scientists at several institutions of higher learning, including St. Lawrence University and Mbarara University of Science and Technology. Mugaiga is known for being a strong voice of reason who has for long advocated for increase in pay for science teachers until their plight was recently heard and implemented in the budget. Richard Mwebaze is an advocate of the High Court of Uganda. He is an employment law specialist and has represented both local and multinational companies in complex employment law disputes. He also represents several labor unions and currently serves as the Chief Legal Officer of Uganda National Teachers Union. He is also a member of the East African Law Society. Ladies and gentlemen, our panel tonight.
There you go. That's our panel for the big debate tonight. Gentlemen, good evening and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mr. Iguma Gabriel, and I'm happy to be here tonight.
Excellent. Well, would like to hear from you. Remember, use the hashtag CTV Big Debate so that we're able to locate your comment on whatever social media platform you decide to use. Well, Mr. Mwebaze, I'd like to begin with you, considering that, there was that letter that came out today. For starters, can you confirm that UNATU has received that letter from the Permanent Secretary, the Ministry of Public Service?
Yeah, to give you a short and precise answer, is that today we received a letter from the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Public Service, that is Madam Catherine Bitarakwate, and the details of the letter are that they are instructing teachers to go back to class by 24th of June this year, and she went ahead to state that teachers who will not have reported to work, they will be taken to have absconded from duty. But we have studied the letter. We are yet to make our response because we strongly believe that the letter is very illegal and intended to intimidate our members. But if you could allow me to really bring you to speed, in 2011, Uganda National Teachers Union started to engage with government. And in any labor negotiations, there's what we call a recognition agreement. So accordingly, in 2011, the Uganda National Teachers Union, together with government represented by Head of Public Service and Secretary to Cabinet, Dr. John Mitara, government signed a commitment in terms of what we call a recognition agreement. It is that recognition agreement that gives Uganda National Teachers Union a basis to negotiate with government. And in that agreement, which we signed with government, to be very specific, Article 8 of that agreement categorically states and provides that when the teachers choose to go on industrial action, government shall desist from all sorts of intimidation. Today we are very shocked that the same permanent secretary who is a signatory to the collective bargaining agreement, again is the same person issuing the letter intimidating the teachers that they should go back to work. We want to condemn in the strongest terms possible the letter issued by the permanent secretary. We are calling her to withdraw the letter because that is not the spirit of negotiation that is envisaged. We are demanding that the permanent secretary, Ministry of Public Service, should withdraw that letter with immediate effect.
Withdraw it or else what?
Because it is a breach of the law.
Okay. All right.
So that is why we are really saying that that's not the language of negotiation.
All right.
And it is not called for to issue such threatening letters at the time when teachers are demanding for their rights to be implemented.
All right. We're going to come back to the details of that later. But currently, who is on strike? And I ask this question because there are sections of the teachers that are saying they're on strike, and there are others that are saying they're not. In the past, when UNATU called a strike, all teachers were on strike.
Gabriel, we have a membership of over 120,000 members across the whole country. And this membership of ours includes primary teachers, secondary teachers, and the BTVET institutions and teacher education institutions. And my brother here is from the science sector. Our members include all, whether science or arts, because it is us who have been negotiating for all these members. And what I can categorically state is that the entire membership of Uganda National Teachers Union, that is 120,000 members, are on industrial action.
And you say that includes science teachers?
It includes both science and arts teachers.
So who are those teachers who are still in the schools?
The teachers who are still in the school, not all science teachers are part of us.
Okay.
And what you need to know is that on the payroll, it has over 200,000 teachers. So if we have a membership of 120,000, that one automatically tells you that the balance, who are not our members, could be the ones who are still in school. But as far as we are concerned, all our members, over 120,000 members, are on industrial action, and they are waiting to hear what will come from government so that they can call for the industrial action.
They're waiting to hear what will come from government?
What will come from government, because we have put and set our demands.
A letter has come from government instructing that they go back to school by the 24th.
What will come from government in terms of fulfilling the pledge that the government promised in 2018, not in terms of intimidation and force to go back and teach. And what you need to understand, my brother, is that you may choose to force the teachers to go back to school. They may actually even go back to school, but the teaching and learning may not take place because of the manner in which you are forcing them to go back to school.
All right.
That is what the government needs to understand. That's why I'm saying that the permanent secretary is choosing a wrong path. That's not the path that the government should take at this particular time?
Well, the teachers say, or they used to tell us, you can force the goat to go to the river, but you will not force it to drink. So the teachers may be forced to go back to the schools. Well, probably the permanent secretary cannot force them to teach when they're in the schools. Mr. Mugeiga, if I may come to you, just for, to give our viewer context and background. Previously, when the teachers were on strike called by UNATU, we knew that all teachers were on strike. This seems to be a different one because the teachers you speak for seem to be against this strike.
Exactly. Yeah, to pick it up from there, one, I want to congratulate our dear viewers and the listeners upon the successes of the day, and upon those that didn't go on well, we trust God that they will be fine tomorrow. My brother here, Mwebaze, is still talking about science teachers. I don't know how much time possibly these people need so that they can understand the lesson we always teach them. There are no science teachers in UNATU. And I want to state it clearly once again. We have always mentioned it, and I want to reiterate it this evening, that there are no science teachers in UNATU. I saw the General Secretary of UNATU recently parading files, which possibly were never opened. But I just want to inform him, and through the lawyer of UNATU who is here today, that UNATU does not represent science teachers. And I can tell you, Gabriel, that all schools in Uganda, all secondary schools in Uganda, the 1,570 secondary schools, all science teachers are teaching. All science teachers are teaching from the 15th.
15th being the day when the industrial action started.
Yes. So actually from the 19th, when we called off our industrial action. And if I can take you a little bit back, you recall on the 9th of May, when we called for industrial action of science teachers, when the funds that had been meant for salary enhancement for science teachers were diverted, we called upon all science teachers to go for industrial action. And you saw we had 99% of all the science teachers across the country. The ones we missed are those who were on leave, which was a genuine case. But we had full support of science teachers. Number two, which I want to possibly educate our brothers. These are the things that take time, but we shouldn't waste time talking about them. In labor unionism and industrial relations, there is what we call mandate. If you carry a mandate of a given constituency to represent it, it is upon you. So we are carrying the mandate of representing all science teachers in this nation. We signed the recognition agreement with government on the 19th October 2021 to represent all science teachers in this country. When I talk about science teachers in this country, I'm referring to the teachers of science in secondary schools. I'm talking about BTVET and NIC instructors. I'm talking about NTC science lecturers. I'm talking about science tutors in PTCs. I'm also talking about laboratory technicians and laboratory assistants in all post-primary institutions. We have that mandate, and the membership is clearly stipulated. Right. As registered by Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development. So when I see somebody coming here to tell lies again to the nation, It is very bad and very unfortunate.
All right.
And that's why, Gabriel, actually, before you come in, this is why we have been finding it very, very difficult to actually deal with our brothers. You call industrial action, you know there is a different labor union that represents other teachers, and you are calling head teachers to close schools. We have a case.
We're going to come to that issue of closure.
You
of schools,
see,
but just so we move systematically with
Yes.
our viewers.
So
You've stated that in 2019 you did sign a recognition
Yes, with
agreement
government.
with government.
yes.
Before 2019, how were the science teachers represented?
The science teachers before 2019 were actually being misrepresented. I don't want to say they were being represented. They were being misrepresented. Because you saw in 2018, government came up with a policy to enhance pay for all scientists. And in maybe let me take you a little bit back. In 2010, 2011, to start with 2010, government categorized workers. It categorized workers who are scientists and non-scientists. It identified about 10 categories of scientists. And it had removed science teachers and science lecturers, saying that science teachers and lecturers are not scientists. Now, in 2012, there was recategorization, which now brought on board science teachers and science lecturers in universities as scientists. So they were added on the earlier list that was generated. Now, they gave a cross-board 30% top-up allowance for all scientists. And it was consolidated into a salary scale, a science salary scale in 2014. So since then, we were earning that allowance and now as a salary. But by 2017, the 30% had been swallowed. It was no longer there. It had reduced actually to 9%. And we complained about this. But the then labor union, which claimed to represent us.
At that time, you were complaining through UNATU.
Through UNATU.
Okay.
It did not care. Now, in 2018, government had to develop a policy again to enhance pay for all scientists.
And this is when you saw an opportunity to form your own association.
Wait a
and
little
break
bit.
away from the
We are
parent
not
one.
yet even any near to form a union. So in 2018, and this is a policy by government, not that anybody negotiated. If I get a little bit of time, I think I will talk about this CBA. Now in 2018, government had to earmark funds to enhance salaries for all scientists, whereby graduate cadre was supposed to go to 2.2 million, and then a diploma cadre at 1.2 million. Now all workers in all departments of government who are scientists got that money. The engineers, statisticians, electricians, agriculturalists, environmentalists, all got this money, and they are still getting it up to date. Now, for science teachers, the money that was earmarked was 98 billion, was diverted on the last hour. But because it was already in the plan of government to pay all scientists, including science teachers, they went ahead and paid for 3 months. Some received pay for 3 months, others for 2 months, science teachers. And now on the 3rd month, they were forced to pay it back. It was withdrawn on an argument that science teachers are not scientists. Now you can imagine somebody who had earned a salary for 3 months and now is forced to pay back. Some had to go 3 months, solid months without pay, as government was trying to recover the earlier paid amount. So this was very bad. It angered the science teachers. Actually, it left majority. You can imagine somebody starting to work on the 1st of the month and reaches 30th now no pay, and has to start another month, still at the end no pay, now go to another month until 3 months. You can imagine the kind of pain they went through.
But this was as a result of a government action. So how does UNATO become the problem here?
The UNATO becomes a problem in that, one, this money was withdrawn because of them. They are the ones who petitioned the parliament, and through the Education Committee of Parliament, this money was removed.
Okay. All right.
You see? Number two, having suffered, because the law of a labor union is to negotiate for its members. And sometimes it doesn't matter, because it's all about the strategy.
So UNATO was not representing science teachers
It
well.
did not represent
And
them
that is
well.
why the science teachers decided
We had to
form
find a
their
way
own
of finding
union.
of how to get a ground to have our voices heard.
And now you've totally forgotten the years when UNATO carried you and fought for your rights.
We have not forgotten. What they did it at that time when we were part of them.
Okay.
But now it has reached a time when they can no longer execute their duties.
All right.
Well,
the science
and we
teachers
can no longer trust them.
All right. The science teachers say they have their own leadership and leave them, as UNATO, leave them to negotiate through their new union. Why don't you let go?
My brother, I'm rather very disappointed. If you find the whole General Secretary of a labor union who is unable to differentiate between mandate and membership of a labor union. You see, Gabriel, what I want the viewers to understand is that joining a labor union is a constitutional right. It's not like a normal constituency, which you see, which is represented by a member of parliament. For you to be called a member of a labor union, you must comply with certain statutory requirements. What are the statutory requirements that you must comply with? To start with, the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda gives a right to each and every worker in this country to join a labor union of his or her choice for purposes of representation of socio-economic interests. It is not a blank check that whoever takes science subject is represented by Uganda Professional Science Teachers Union. That person must fill a membership form and is recruited to Uganda National Professional Science Teachers Union for my brother to claim that those are his members. So we have not received any notes of withdrawal from a labor union by any science teacher.
Can they belong to both unions?
They can never belong to both unions. You must belong to one union. You must join a labor union of your choice for purposes of representation of your socio-economic interest.
All right.
And even withdrawing.
Just before...
if I could first...
it's still on the same issue. By joining the Professional Science Teachers Union, can it be construed that they've constructively left UNATO?
You see, you have introduced me as a lawyer.
Yes.
I have represented a labor union at the industrial court before.
That's why I've used the word constructively.
Over the same subject.
Yes.
For one to be taken to have withdrawn from a labor union, we have a law called the Labor Union Check-off Regulations Statutory Instrument number 60 of 2011. How do you withdraw from a labor union? For you to withdraw from a labor union, a respective member of a labor union must write to the General Secretary expressing a wish to withdraw from that labor union. When you write expressing your wish, then the General Secretary within 30 days is supposed to notify the employer that so and so has ceased being our member. And that's when you are deleted from the register of that union. As long as the person still exists on the register of our union, that person is taken to be a member.
And those are the files that your General Secretary was presenting before the public last time, right?
I will come to that. And what I want my brother to understand, they have just registered the union 2 years ago. We have been in this business for over 15 years. I want to teach him to stop claiming a blank check that all science teachers in Uganda are represented by Uganda Professional Teachers Union. It's not like a normal constituency of the Republic of Uganda that whoever is a registered voter in that constituency is represented by that member of parliament. That is what is calling mandate. So for you to claim to be representing all science teachers in the whole country, you must make sure that you have all what it takes to claim that you are representing them. It's not a blank check that you have a mandate.
Okay.
Excuse me, I haven't finished. I'm still building.
Very briefly, very briefly. Let him conclude on this, and let's.
It's not.
We're going to come to your comment. We're going to come to your comment. Let him finish what he's saying.
It's not a blank check that if they have registered a professional science teachers union, that whoever teaches science belongs to their union. Even there are some teachers who choose not to belong to any union. It is also their constitutional right. So please, as the General Secretary of Labour Union, I don't expect you to reason like that. Number two, he talks about... No, I'm still...
If you could just take note of it, just take note of it. I'm going to give you a chance.
My brother Mugiga.
They need to be debunked immediately. No, I'm going to give you the opportunity. No, let's allow him.
That is the disadvantage now to the union I represent.
Excuse me.
You see, when you...
Mr. Moderator, I beg for your protection.
Just a second. Just a second.
Gabriel, they are lives that don't need to wait.
Just hold on.
You may forget.
Hold on. Because, no, please take note of it. Because it's the beginning of the show. Gentlemen, at the beginning of the show, yes, I will allow for, just a second, at the beginning of the show, I'll allow for both of you to give your positions relatively uninterrupted, so that it's clear what your position on the matter is.
But then when you allow somebody to present lies, which are actually attacking,
you're actually going to have the opportunity. You're actually going to have the opportunity to respond to them. So I request that you just take note of that particular thing, so that you give your version of what he is saying.
When my brother was submitting, I had my pen here and a notebook I've been noting down. Here I can see he's holding, you are holding a diary.
I don't come here to present lies to the public.
Civilized people wait for the colleague to finish.
Okay,
don't claim membership. Which is no longer yours, and you know.
Which is no longer. And we're actually going to get to that. Yes. So he's actually going to respond.
This is the misrepresentation.
Yes. Can we just allow him?
Fought against.
Can we just allow him to finish what he's saying, and then we're going to come to you, and you'll tell us about what the correct representation is, at least from where you are seated. Yes, Mr.
Let's maintain the standards of this debate. Please note down. I will keep quiet when you will be submitting. So I'm still trying to undo the rise is portraying on this show. The issue of blank check membership, that one I've answered. It is a question of law. You must show where you belong by complying with the statutory requirements. I come now to the issue of misrepresentation. Gabriel, it is very, very, very disappointing for Uganda Professional Science Teachers Union to claim that they have not been represented by Uganda National Teachers Union.
Well, he says they were represented until, there were gaps in the representation, and so they decided to form their own union.
I want to address the issue of the gap. In 2018, Uganda National Teachers Union, with other public service labor unions, entered into a collective bargaining agreement with the government of the Republic of Uganda, represented by Secretary to Cabinet. In that agreement, which we negotiated, if you allow me just 2 minutes to tell you how much a science teacher was supposed to earn against an arts teacher. I came with the agreement, which I carried to the studio, and in the interest of time, I will just take only just a few seconds to show you. This is a copy of the collective bargaining agreement that we signed. It was signed by the head of public service, representing government, and Uganda National Teachers Union, representing all the teachers. In this agreement here, I want to single out what the science teacher was supposed to get against an arts teacher. Now, here, a science teacher at the principal level, in the financial year 2022-2023, was supposed to earn 7.8 million. Science teacher at the senior level was supposed to earn 6 million. Arts teacher was supposed to earn 5.4 million. And science teacher at the graduate level was supposed to earn 4.8 million. U4 arts teacher was supposed to earn 4.5. So you can able to see.
All right, could you just go to the first page of that document?
The first page of this document is
Yes.
it's a collective bargaining agreement.
All right, just if you could just turn it to that camera.
I could turn it to the camera.
Yes.
This agreement here,
But
you can
is
see.
that a genuine document?
Excuse me, you will have the opportunity to undo if I'm
No,
telling
this-
lies.
You see,
No, this is the collective
Gabriel,
bargaining
don't allow
agreement.
lies.
Just a second. If I'm actually, let me find out from you. Was there
Gabriel, let me first finish my point.
wait, bargaining agreement signed in 2018?
in as far as
Between-
we are concerned, it's not there.
If I
Because the
could finish-
government never signed a document like that.
My brother,
Ask him. That document was supposed to take 5 years. Has it ever been implemented?
if I could,
Okay.
if I could,
This is the- you,
if I could,
If I may ask,
we
no,
cannot
if I may ask-
accept.
okay, if I may ask,
we cannot
just hold
accept.
on, just hold on. If I may ask,
Yes, please.
at the meeting with the president
Yes.
recently,
Yes.
a meeting that you also have referred to, I have seen you referring to that meeting and claiming, UNATU taking a wrong stance during that meeting.
Yes,
During that meeting,
Yes.
the General Secretary of UNATU referred to a collective bargaining agreement signed by government and said government was in breach of that agreement. Which agreement was he referring to?
You see,
Isn't it the same
let me
agreement?
tell you, Gabriel, now, when you go before the head of state, the head of state may not start arguing with you over what you have presented. If you listen to the Prime Minister recently, she clearly put holes in this document. And she said government...
what holes are they?
This document
Mention
was
the
never
holes.
signed.
Can you please, who
Because-
didn't sign it?
let
If
me
you
tell
say the
you
document
something.
was not signed,
Let me
I
tell
want
you
you
this.
to tell the viewer
Let me tell you
who
this.
did not sign.
At
Let me tell you
can
this.
can I please look at the
Can
document?
I borrow this document?
You are free because it's a public document.
Now, when you look at this document, Gabriel, which UNATU is following, this document was never signed by the
who?
ministry, by the permanent secretary minister of finance, because of the financial implication involved. Government discovered could not handle. You know, these figures contained in this document were just wishes by UNATU and other labor unions. Just wishes. Now, these wishes.
So what you're-
number
okay,
two,
so the
it
point
was
you're ma-
never signed by the Solicitor General. Isn't this the signature of the Solicitor General? I mean, the space where he was supposed to sign. Did he sign? He did not.
He doesn't have to sign.
Then why
He
was
doesn't
he
have to
put
sign.
here? Why was he put there?
Having been put there, it could be a draft error, but he doesn't have to sign.
He doesn't have to sign.
Yes, and I
why
will tell
was
you
he
why.
put there? Now,
I will
Gabriel,
tell you
ask
why.
him.
I will tell
A
you why.
document.
You see,
a document.
my brother-
is presented, and somebody is supposed to sign.
I don't know
and it
whether
is a gap.
I don't know whether it is his time
Number
to
two.
submit, whether it is my
Yes,
time.
yes, it's my
He's
time
entering
now.
into my time
No,
because
no,
I was
no,
building
it's
the
my
point
time
which I
now.
have not finished.
Okay,
It's
I
so
really need
time.
to put
I want
the-
to show you another one, so that you see the gaps. That's why for us we rejected in totality this document. This is the permanent secretary minister of local government. It is
He
blank.
doesn't have to sign.
It's blank.
He doesn't have to sign.
Wait, you will tell us why he hasn't. He
So
doesn't
if-
have to sign. Number two, this is the Mr. Case Mahakanizi, the then finance, the then permanent secretary.
Permanent
of
Secretary and
Finance.
He doesn't
Secretary
have
to
to
Yes,
Treasury.
this is blank.
He doesn't have
You
to
see
sign.
that? This is blank. Now, who signed? Now, let me ask him a question. If a CBA is not supposed to be signed by these people, why we are in the first place? Why were they put here?
Can
Their
I
names.
answer that?
Number two, if you want to answer, because I'm still yet to take my time to handle,
No,
to
there-
undo the lies.
Yeah.
Another thing, any collective bargaining agreement, Gabriel, first listen, any collective bargaining agreement, world over, it is known, it has to be registered by government. And in this case, in the Ugandan context, it has to be registered by the Minister of Gender, Labor and Social Development. Was this document signed?
Can I answer that? These are serious allegations which I need to respond to, my brother.
So,
You see,
Could you?
So
yes,
the document,
I know. Okay, so
government has simply accepted.
he has put the questions to me.
has
Yes.
simply accepted
He has put the
because
questions
it
to
knows
me.
these are its children.
He has put the
They
questions to
cannot
me.
just do away
in your
with
view,
them.
it was a tactic by government to get.
And
the-
I can
the
has
tell you,
put
settled
government,
down.
I can tell you, government,
Excuse
it
me.
will be very
You have
hard
put-
and very difficult
You have-
unless these people get a proper strategy.
My brother, I
All
get
right,
They
so
have
we
to
implement-
enter new
okay.
terms.
Let's just hear
And
from
then
him.
number two,
No, let's hear.
as we conclude this matter of CBA,
Let's hear.
when they are dealing with this CBA, they should not mix the government policy of pay enhancement of workers, starting with scientists. It has nothing to do with the CBA.
Okay,
Now,
let's hear from you
So
on,
my brother,
on that document and whether,
Yeah.
yes, that document was signed.
again,
But whether that document actually commits government to those figures that appear.
exactly. Now, my brother, I get disappointed for a whole general secretary of the labor union to speak like a spokesperson of government. For you to claim to
I
be
will not
speaking,
ask what
for you to claim-
spokesperson of government
for you
speaks
to
like.
claim to be speaking like you are speaking for the government of the
We
Republic
will
of
not
Uganda.
Okay, let's
When
hear,
you
let's
are-
hear, let's hear
That
about
is
the
projected
let's
on
hear,
our
let's
way.
hear about
Excuse me.
let's hear about
Used
the
as a stone
let's hear about the
prove-
legality.
if this
or
has
an
turned into-
impediment.
Let's hear
to
about
implement a
this-
policy.
my
let's-
brother,
let's
if
hear
this has
about-
turned as
okay,
passed by
let's hear whether
competition.
let's hear if this document has the force
Now,
of actually
My brother,
charging on the
I'm a
consolidated
lawyer,
fund.
I'm a lawyer and an advocate of the High Court of Uganda. I want to use this opportunity to explain to my brother the legal aspects that involve a collective bargaining agreement. One, the Public Service Negotiation and Consultative Machinery Act 2008 establishes what we call the Public Service Negotiation Council.
The minister says you're in breach of the provisions of that law, but we'll come back to that. Please continue.
We shall come back to that.
Yes.
Establishes the Public Service Negotiation and Consultative Council. The composition of that council, government is represented by head of public service and secretary to cabinet. And in this case here, when we signed this collective bargaining agreement, to set the record straight, government was represented by the retired head of public service, Mr. John Mitara. And that law, to be very specific, provides that the head of public service is the head of the delegation. And the composition of the council includes the following members. One, the office of the Solicitor General, the office of Ministry of Local Government, the officers from Ministry of Finance. So,
You're explaining why there was space for those particular offices in the document.
that's what I'm trying to explain.
Yes.
So, it is not a legal requirement that these other people, permanent secretary, Minister of Finance, permanent
Yes.
secretary, that they must sign this agreement.
Great.
Because they already have attended the
Because
meeting.
of- because
and
of
it's supposed
time.
to be signed by the head of the delegation, who is the secretary to cabinet.
Okay,
And this agreement here was signed by John Mitara, representing government of the Republic of Uganda,
All right.
and witnessed by the chairman of the council.
So question,
At that point,
is it
becomes
required,
legal.
is it required that a collective bargaining agreement is registered?
Under the same law, the Public Service Negotiation and Consultative Machinery Act and the Labor Disputes Arbitration and Settlement Act of 2008, registering a recognition agreement and a collective bargaining agreement is not a legal requirement. I don't know where my brother gets that. If he wants to understand, I would challenge him to go back and open the provisions of the law to find out whether it is a legal requirement. Therefore, it is very wrong for him to claim that the agreement was not registered and therefore illegal.
Okay.
And second,
So if
there's
I'm-
one more important point which I want to clear.
You have allowed the man to
which I want to
continue
clear.
rejecting
No,
it.
I just
which
have
I
one
want
more.
to clear.
I have one more question in relation to that.
If I could first
I
answer one.
have one more question in relation to that.
Yes, please.
Based on what has been agreed in a collective bargaining agreement, if there is no certificate of financial implications, because such an agreement and the way that one was written, it has an implication on the consolidated fund, on the budget.
Exactly.
How exactly can it be enforced?
Now, you see,
It cannot.
Excuse me. You'll
It
get the
cannot.
opportunity.
No, let's hear his
My
answer.
brother, there is a reason as to why the law, the Public Service Negotiation and Consultative Machinery Act, makes Ministry of Finance a member of the council. The reason as to why the law makes the Solicitor General, Ministry of Finance, local government, and other ministries not by mistake. The framers of the law intended that by the time we get out of the boardroom, everything has been catered for. So, Secretary secretary to the treasury, who is the member of the committee, by the time the head of public service appends his signature, he has already gotten advice from the secretary of the treasury that the government will meet this expense. It's not by mistake that the composition of the council includes secretary to the treasury, solicitor general, minister of local government, and as a minister. It's not by mistake. That is why the law was structured in a way that by the time we get out of the boardroom of Ministry of Finance, everything has been catered for. That is what I want my brother to understand, but not just to argue like a street vendor.
Let's allow him to just say one more thing, and then, gentlemen, we actually have to leave that issue and move on, because there are many issues that we need to tackle in the show today.
We have always stated this clearly. You know, it doesn't make any sense for us to come here and for purposes of hoodwinking the public, maybe to be on our side, to end up telling lies. My brother, Counsel Richard here, understands it clearly that for government to commit itself on a document that has financial implication of this magnitude like this one, Minister of Finance has to evaluate and see whether government will be able to finance it or handle it.
Could you explain to
and I can tell you, that this document was taken to finance, and the PS refused to sign.
Government?
After discovering, we have facts over this, and that's why for us
All
we
right,
have
please.
dissociated
So
ourselves
after
from it.
discovering,
After discovering that the government will not be able to meet these figures, he never signed. And the Solicitor General asked for certificate of financial implication. It was never provided.
Are you the spokesperson?
Do you have it?
Do you
know what? I'm not the spokesperson of government.
Yep.
No, let me tell you this.
But I actually asked you whether the absence of a certificate of financial implications actually affects the application, implementation of that
Negotiation and
document.
Consultative Machinery Act is an act of parliament. And to be very exact, Section 7 gives you the composition of the council. The composition of the council,
yes,
the
and
head of the delegation.
And you've made that point.
Yes.
The question is about a certificate of financial implications, because what's agreed on in that document has an implication on
you
the
see,
budget
Gabriel, what
and
you're
on
asking,
the consolidated
what
plan.
you're asking is like asking me why the signature of Solicitor General is not on the document when it's part of the meeting that is advising head of public service. And one other more important point which you need to note, these ideas that are in this collective bargaining agreement are not ideas of Secretary to Cabinet and Head of Public Service. These are ideas of government. Ideas of government in the sense that Head of Public Service, Secretary to Cabinet, sits in Cabinet. After they have discussed in Cabinet, under minute number something, the ideas are transferred from the Cabinet and taken to the council and actualized into an agreement. It is therefore for anyone to argue that the government does not know this when the ideas are agreed in Cabinet, from Cabinet to the council,
now,
from
Gabriel,
the council.
All right.
You have allowed
let me allow you to have the final. Let me allow you to have your final word on this.
You see,
he's
dodging a very
Mr.
pertinent
Mr. Webaze, let's allow him to make that point.
He's dodging a very pertinent question. If he is a lawyer and the council expect him to be very, very well informed, government cannot start implementing a document like this without a certificate of financial implication.
2018.
Number two, if he says the Solicitor General was part of the meeting that agreed, and his name was put here and he's never signed, do you still call that an agreement where one party has signed and another one has not signed? If he says finance, no, listen. If he says finance was part of the negotiations and here the permanent secretary never signed, do you still call that an agreement? Because in as far as we are concerned, an agreement must be signed by both parties. Now, if he says the leader of government business in the council is the overlord and he signed, why is it that others did not sign? Can a senior sign and their junior refuse to sign, and you still call that an agreement? So for us as a union,
By the
Gabriel,
argument, by the argument that you've
as
made,
a union,
just
for him he
a second.
says-
By the argument you've made,
Yes.
both parties have signed because government has signed.
No,
And
they have
the
not.
teachers have signed.
The leader of government business, if you listen to her, the prime minister, you see this council
No, actually, what he said, the head of the delegation.
of the delegation to the
Yes.
council. No, what is the role of the council? What is the role of the
Jesus
council?
Christ of Nazareth.
For collective bargaining and negotiation. Negotiate with who?
Okay, gentlemen.
Negotiate with government. Gabriel, let me conclude this very well. Negotiate with government. When you negotiate with government, government must accept if it sees that the figures involved therein, they will be able to meet them. And the Prime Minister has clearly stated that this document, as government, they never signed. And she clearly said that the head of public service, in line of financial matters, financial implication, that will involve government or picking funds from the consolidated fund, it is not the role of the head of public service to sign on behalf of government.
You speak like a spokesperson.
Okay.
The reason
Well,
why I
Mr.
speak the way I'm doing, Gabriel, is this. Let me put this clear to the public. This very document has been used severally to sabotage a clear policy of government on salary enhancement. For us, which we feel will work and benefit all workers of this country. Because the government came out with a policy to enhance salaries for all workers, but starting with scientists. And starting with scientists in financial year 2022-2023, they have fulfilled that.
All right, and that's the
Now,
policy.
if
That's the
they have
policy that
said-
works to the
Exactly.
benefit advantage of the science teachers.
Wait. Because the government cannot increase salaries for everybody at once. They have clearly mentioned this. These very brothers of ours, where we deviate and disagree with them.
Which department of government do you speak for?
Disagree with them. No, I'm not speaking for any government. I am speaking for my people. If I see you using this to sabotage our pay, like the way you did in 2018, don't expect us to keep quiet. And here I'm actually being very genuine. I don't have to side with anybody.
All right.
But an agreement has to be signed by both parties.
Mr.
And
Mwebaze,
the council here knows that very well.
Unfortunately, for the technicalities of that agreement,
Yes.
we cannot conclusively debate that. But
So-
Mr. Mwebaze, if I may find out from you, apart from UNATU, is government still implementing or considering implementing what was agreed on there?
My brother,
Because government now has, the new policy on enhancement of salaries.
And that
yes,
was approved
like he
by
has-
cabinet.
And like what he has stated,
No.
government and the president has said this severally, that the way this is going to be done is that it's the scientists that will be enhanced first.
No.
And he has given the reasons
No.
why. And he repeated these during the meeting that you attended
No.
with the president.
my brother.
When they blackmailed us, that one you must not forget it.
We're going to come to the blackmail.
My brother, it is very wrong for the General Secretary to claim that this agreement is illegal when it has been partly been implemented by government. This agreement, when we
When was
signed
it
Okay,
implemented?
Mr. Mwebaze,
This is what I'm
When
going
if
to
was
I-
it
explain.
implemented?
Again, if I
This
may
what-
say,
Let him
this is
give
what-
us the figures.
gentlemen, I have just said,
Gabriel,
I've just
ask
said,
him figures that were implemented by
gentlemen,
government.
In relation
Let
to
him
the,
tell us.
in relation to the technicalities, with that document, we cannot get to the bottom of it because you both have varying opinions on it. But the question, if we could go back to the question, is government still implementing what is in that document, considering the policy that they've come up with on enhancement of
I can
salaries?
authoritatively say yes. Why am I saying yes? After signing this agreement in 2018, we agreed on a payment policy plan with government for the financial year 2019, 2018, 2020, 2019, 2020, 2020, 2021, 21, 22, 22, 23. Now, soon after signing this agreement in 2019, government did not honor what we had agreed. Like I read for you the figures from the collective bargaining agreement. At that point, we called an industrial action in 2019. When we called the industrial action, we met His Excellency the President. And we agreed with the President that this agreement should be implemented in a way it was agreed. So that is why I'm saying that the fact that the first phases were implemented, that's why we are calling on the government to still go ahead and implement.
Talking of first phase being implemented,
Okay.
so let him check for science teachers
So,
whether the first phase was implemented.
The issue,
There I will agree with him. Check there.
the issue,
Was
the
it
issue,
implemented?
The issue of why not? Why wasn't it implemented?
You check the figure. Check
In
the figure
2018,
and tell the
2019,
public before
did you
this
get-
national
Did you
television.
get an increment that we negotiated with the president?
No, the figure is here. Why are you hiding?
Did you get the
It's not about the figure.
with the president?
Is that the figure you are
see,
looking for?
You see, what is forgetting?
Adding somebody an increment of 30,000.
What
Is that
is-
the increment you are
what-
looking for?
what is-
This is
what
lack
is
of
forgetting?
strategy and poor negotiation.
What is forgetting?
And we cannot tolerate that
So,
kind of thing
okay.
of sabotage.
One of the things you keep referring to sabotage.
Sabotage. You see, he is talking of that. Did you get increment? Science teachers, yes, they got increment of 30,000 to 50,000.
Now,
Okay.
Now, look here, Gabriel.
Is forgetting-
Sincerely
is
speaking,
forgetting- is forgetting
sincerely
one
speaking,
thing.
somebody you removed from 2.2 million.
Is getting
2.2 million. They removed us from 2.2 million and they negotiated for us for an increment of 50,000. Then you expect us to remain under you, that you are representing us? We cannot accept. Number two, this very CBA is talking about that the first phase was implemented. The figure for science teachers was deliberately not implemented for science teachers. And UNAT was there at their watch.
Now, I want to
so
ask him a
you
simple
cannot
question.
bring this document
want-
before us
is-
anywhere,
is-
and we cannot tolerate it.
Okay.
Let it be very
Can we?
clear.
Okay. We have to go for a break in the next couple of minutes, and I'd like us.
Actually, by the way,
before-
this is
before-
being presented, Gabriel, before you go for the break, is being presented. They are still living in an illusion that they will use it to actually sabotage the pay enhancement. For science teachers,
All
not
right.
even the whole policy,
Hopefully,
but they are targeting science
hopefully
teachers.
we can find out if there's a deliberate move to
There is a
sabotage
move.
the enhancement.
Did you
of
see their
Okay, because we may not get a chance to come back to the issue, it's important to, for you to respond in relation to the issue of, not sabotage, the issue of representation.
Auntie, you didn't give me time because the man said they are still representing
the
science
science-
teachers,
the
which
science-
was the lie.
the science-
Why don't we have some
The science teachers decided to come up with their own union. Are you allowing this union to negotiate for the members that belong? Because there are those that have signed up with that union.
My brother, it is not our role to allow or disallow. This one I want it very clear. It's not the role of Uganda National Teachers Union to allow or disallow a union to negotiate for its members. Even you, Gabriel, if you started your union today.
And since they say
you
they
would be
negotiated and got something good for their members,
Now, I want to go to
it
that
seems
issue.
like what they're saying is
I want
you
to-
seem to be against what they have
I want-
negotiated
my brother,
and secured for their
I
members.
want to go to the issue of negotiation. Uganda Professional Science Teachers Union was registered hardly a year and a half ago.
2019, particularly
2020.
2021 October.
That is
19th,
when
right?
Uganda.
That is when we signed the agreement.
That is
But we
when-
were registered on
If I could explain, Vanang.
You were registered in what year? 2019?
2020.
2020.
No,
and
they
then
are registered.
you signed an agreement with government 2021.
Yes.
All right.
Now, they signed an agreement in just 2021, last year, for them to get the mandate to start negotiating with government. I have told you we signed our recognition agreement in 2011. Immediately after signing our recognition agreement in 2011, other government scientists, doctors, engineers, we are getting what we call science allowance. Our brothers, who were teachers, we are not getting that science allowance. When we met His Excellency the President at State House, we brought that issue to his attention and said, Your Excellency, look here. There is a policy to give an allowance to all scientists in this country. But our teachers who are scientists are not receiving this allowance. And the president agreed. That is how science teachers allowance was introduced.
Okay.
By the, and it was advocated for by Uganda National Teachers Union. It rather baffles me.
Are we still getting it?
For a member to argue that they have not gotten any help from Uganda National Teachers Union.
Okay.
Is there any science teacher who still gets the 30%?
Finally, on that point, the figures which they are proud to have that they are going to receive from government were not negotiated by Uganda Professional Science Teachers Union, because they registered recently. These figures were negotiated and agreed to by Uganda National Teachers Union, with government represented by head of public service.
Gabriel, don't allow those lies.
As it is reflected in this collective bargaining agreement.
Okay, just very, very briefly, now, if you could respond on the issue of, representation. And he says you can't blanketly say that all the science teachers belong to the union. There are processes of actually, belonging to the union,
yes,
or withdrawing
that one I'm
membership.
going to handle, but let this lie be cleared first. The pay, for us, we have not claimed to have negotiated for the pay enhancement for science teachers. We have not claimed that.
You're happy that the enhancement is
government,
coming.
not yes. UNATU. Government came up with a policy on the 24th of August last year, after making research worldwide, by the way, on the role of science and technology on national development. And the president has always echoed and re-echoed this. And they discovered that scientists must be paid better, which is not going to start from Uganda, by the way. It is working already in many other countries. United Kingdom, Germany, United States, mention them. Japan. These people are being paid highly, scientists, than their counterparts. So nobody should claim to have negotiated for these figures. The 4 million graduate teachers are expecting is not anywhere in this collective bargaining agreement. If this policy was announced on the 25th of August last year, when UPUSTU had earlier been registered in 2020, how come that you not can claim to have negotiated for those figures? How did we come in the limelight? We came in the limelight when government came up with this policy. The saboteurs, who included UNATU, these guys you see here, came up and started fighting the policy, but targeting science teachers. I can tell you, Gabriel, and the viewers, that we have been battling this from since this policy was announced. People have been against us to the extent that in early April, when the budgeting process was coming to a closure, somebody connived, some government officials went and removed funds that were meant for enhancement of salary of science teachers. Funds worth 139 billion out of the 400 billion that had been earmarked by government to enhance salaries of scientists in the first phase. For science teachers, it disappeared. It was diverted, and we had to swing into action as a union to make sure that this is defended, and it was brought back. And the president also stood with us, and more money was provided because the president directed. If you can recall, on the 10th October last year, while at Kuroro ceremonial grounds, celebrating the Teachers' Day, which had been postponed to 10th from the 5th, he took almost 2 hours explaining this policy. Okay. And he even categorized the kind of scientists, the science teachers in the education sector, who must benefit from this policy.
We need to,
so Gabriel,
we need to go for a break.
Yes,
and
so Gabriel,
unfortunately,
for the benefit of the
if
viewers,
you don't talk about the issue of representation,
and I have to, that is a very serious lie.
So the thing is, when we come back from the break, we will not touch the issue of
representation. We need to touch it. Right now, our union has 14,000 registered science teachers.
14,000.
Remember, in second, we have 11,000 science teachers. Now, the rest are from tertiary institutions. And as I'm speaking to you today from here,
they have 100% membership.
Yes, and what UNAT is claiming, by the way, UNAT conscripted science teachers. They never registered to join UNAT. We have 300 science teachers that have petitioned the KCCA against the conscription. For them, they went and punched their code on these teachers. And because they are continuously subscribing, they think these are their members when they are not negotiating for them. Which science teacher will allow you to negotiate for him when you removed them from 2.2 and negotiated for them 50,000? Was that negotiation? After removing them from 2.2. So we cannot tolerate these lies, Gabriel, and let
because
these
of the
people
sensitivity of that issue, because of the sensitivity of
Gabriel,
that issue, let's go for a break.
Let you not be informed that let them negotiate for their members. They went to the head of state and they squandered an opportunity, a very golden opportunity. And they started blackmailing science teachers. Instead of presenting to the head of state that what we want is, we want you to provide funds to enhance salaries for the arts teachers.
All right.
Since you have enhanced for science.
Okay.
That was very bad. We cannot allow such people to represent teachers.
The teachers cannot, or their leaders seem not to agree. And yet, at the end of the day, we should be working for the learner to ensure that the Ugandan learner is actually equipped and taught when they go to school. What does all this mean for the learner? And will the teachers go back to the classes? When we come back from the break, we will delve into those issues. So stay tuned. The conversation continues after these messages.
Business Expo is here. Join us from the 8th to the 10th of July 2022 at Kolo Independence Grounds. We will unveil the annual government procurement plan and awards. Come network with 35,000 certified businesses. Attend the AGP training and engagement with key decision makers. Together, let's exhibit, network, collaborate and grow. This message is brought to you by PPDA in partnership with FIPRO, PSFU, Isuzu, Fireworks Advertising and
CTV. Don't blink. CTV is now on StarTimes. You can now catch all your favorite programs, our daily comprehensive news bulletins, and so much more on StarTimes channel number 248. Stay tuned for a world of endless possibilities. CTV. Don't blink.
Welcome back from the break. Thank you for staying with us on the big debate here on CTV. I'm your host, Iguma Gabriel, and today we're looking at the teachers' strike and the developments in the teachers' strike. In the first segment of the show, we talked about the background. How do we find ourselves here? How do the science teachers and UNATU seem to go different directions when it comes to the salary enhancement? Who should negotiate for which group of teachers? We've discussed that comprehensively, but if you followed us in the first segment, you realize that the two gentlemen are very strong on what their positions are. Our two guests, Mr. Aaron Mugega, he is Secretary General of Uganda Professional Science Teachers Union, and our other guest, Mr. Richard Mwebaze, Legal and Labor Relations Officer, Uganda National Teachers Union, UNATU. Well, gentlemen, I'd like us to move on to the issues relating to what happened today. The letter that I spoke about earlier, a letter from the Permanent Secretary of Public Service, basically stating that the teachers should go back to school, and those that do not, they will basically have resigned from their positions. They would have withdrawn, their labor, and government will probably drop them from the payroll. Mr. Mwebaze, is that this letter was written to your Secretary General. Are your teachers going to go back to school?
The short and quick, precise answer is that no. Gabriel, it's very important for the viewers to know that whatever Uganda National Teachers Union does is guided by the law. The letter from the permanent secretary is alleging that the industrial action which was called by Uganda National Teachers Union is illegal on grounds that we did not issue a notice of 19 days prior to going to the industrial action. That is the only basis in that letter which the permanent secretary is basing on to call our industrial action illegal. You recall, just like we have been arguing in the first segment, 2018, after signing a collective bargaining agreement, it was not honored. In 2019, if I recall very well, in the month of February, the Uganda National Teachers Union issued a notice of industrial action to the head of public service and secretary to cabinet. And in that notice, we are informing government that we're going to start our industrial action on the 20th of May 2019.
So your position is, from 2019, you're still on industrial action?
Now, I'm still coming. Now, when we issued that notice, government did not heed to our demand. On the 20th of May 2019, Uganda National Teachers Union went on industrial action.
Yes.
Claiming that the figures that are in the collective bargaining agreement, the payment enhancement plan as agreed, should be implemented by government. We first had a meeting that was chaired by the Right Honorable Moses Ali, and we disagreed. When we disagreed, the meeting ended in the State House. We ended up with His Excellency the President. When we met the President actually directed Minister of Finance and Public Service to enhance our salaries in accordance with the collective bargaining agreement, the first phase, the way we had agreed on it. So at that point, Uganda National Teachers Union agreed to suspend the industrial action, not calling off. There's a difference between suspending and calling off.
Isn't this a technicality
Yes.
in order to go around the requirement to give 90 days notice?
No, I'm still explaining. This is a very important pertinent issue that our members should understand. So at that point, we suspended our industrial action on the promise that the government was going to meet our demands. Now, after suspending the industrial action, we thank government. That year, there was an increment in the salaries of teachers in accordance with the CBA. Now, come to the next subsequent financial years, we again issued a wrote to government reminding them to still comply with the collective bargaining agreement, and reminded the head of public service that, mind you, we suspended our industrial action, we did not call it off, because this industrial action is on the same subject matter. Same subject matter, same collective bargaining agreement. It is therefore very wrong and irregular for Ministry of Public Service to argue and say that our industrial action. Excuse me, Mr. Mugiga.
Yes, just hold on. Let him finish that point. No, let him finish that point.
Can he quote the figures he says they were
Excuse
implemented
me.
in that CBA?
Excuse me.
2019.
You have a pen and a diary. That's why you carried them to this.
Okay, let's have your. If you could finish.
So we suspended our industrial action and we did not call it off. In 2011, we signed what we call a recognition agreement. In that recognition agreement, it is a term of the agreement that while on industrial action, government shall not intimidate members of Uganda National Teachers Union
No.
Therefore, the letter of the permanent secretary in itself is a breach of that recognition agreement.
All right. Let me just read a part of that letter that touches on the 2019, strike, and because you've mentioned it, the permanent secretary says the claim that the strike has been ongoing since 2019 and hence there was no need for a new notice is both fallacious and not legally tenable. That's the position of the...
That's the position.
Can you defend that it is tenable?
But a wrong position of law. It is a principle of international negotiations that if an industrial action has been called and suspended, the one who called industrial action does not have to go through statutory requirements to again resume that industrial action. It is an international
Council,
principle.
I think you need information on that. If you can be humble, I can give you the information.
Wait,
no,
you are not going to give me information on matters of law.
Let's receive.
Matters of talk, I would accept.
Let's receive. Let's actually.
You are not going to give me any information.
Let's hear the information. No, let's hear the information. What's the information you're giving, sir?
You see, what is right now? He wants to mislead the public.
No, let's hear the information.
When you suspend, there is what we call indefinite suspension. It is also a suspension. That is a suspension where you do not state a specific date of resumption.
And that's what he's saying they did, and now they have resumed.
Very good. And an indefinite suspension means the suspension is over.
According to which...
So this one where he's claiming, that we suspended from 2019.
You see, my brother,
which law?
He's giving me information.
Which law?
He's giving me information. I expect him to quote the exact
maybe
law.
let him tell the public that they suspended the industrial action from 2019 on a given date to a date of 15th May 2022. Let the public understand
he said
that.
They suspended until government complies with what they have in the collective bargaining agreement.
You see, don't, my brother...
That is wrong. Because he has said when they suspended, he thanked the government, that the government had to implemented some figures in the CBA.
But
that's why I was asking him.
I hope you heard him. He said then they reminded government, not permanent secretary,
head of public service.
Head of public service, that they did not call off.
Let him show us a document. Let us show us a document that suspended that.
You see, my friend.
And quote that we inform the government.
I'm not going to argue like that.
No.
Please don't be too shallow.
Yeah.
You see, you came with a diary.
Yes.
And a pen. When I'm speaking, note down.
Answer issues, council. Answer issues, council.
Are you the moderator?
Because
okay,
here,
so
gentlemen,
we need
to help the public.
Gentlemen,
we need to help the public.
Gentlemen,
understand. We don't need to mislead the public.
All right. So and we have put to him the position of the permanent secretary in relation to the claim suspension, and that there was no need for notice, and she says it is illegal, and his position is, she's got to quote what law it is that makes it illegal. The good thing is this letter also says that, if you are aggrieved, go to the court. Go to the court.
Now, you see.
So if you could conclude that, because I'd like to bring
what I want to conclude, the permanent secretary concludes by saying that if we are aggrieved, we should go to court. In this case, it is the permanent secretary who is aggrieved. She should be the one to go to court, not us. You see, it is a principle of law that he who alleges must prove. The permanent secretary is alleging that our industrial action is illegal and not tenable at all. We are saying that our industrial action is illegal. Therefore, if she feels that our industrial action is not illegal, she has the legal duty to go and ask a court of law to declare our industrial action so.
All right.
But not her declaring our industrial action illegal.
Okay. If we could now just find out from you, are your members teaching?
Yes, as earlier stated, our members are teaching, and they will continue teaching until, because for us we have agreed with the government on a certain position.
All right.
And for us we suspended hours.
Just a second. Your members are teaching, but you have been claiming that members of UNATU have closed the schools. So where are your members teaching?
There are some cases of schools that have been closed by, and you see, even closing a school itself is illegal. In fact, it is a crime. Because if you don't want to teach, the law provides for withdrawal of labor. It doesn't provide for closure of schools. I am happy that they are not tampering much with secondary schools, because if they do that, then that is going to be a different story. But I got information yesterday of how they attacked some secondary school in Greater Mityana. And they were forcing the head teacher to close the school, that science teachers should get out. But we sent our regional coordinator immediately to go to that school to protect the members. And he had to subdue the forces that had been put. And we want to warn whoever is concerned and whoever is propagating this kind of... when we were on industrial action, we respected everybody. We worked within our mandate.
Now, I want to state.
We worked within our mandate. We worked within our mandate. We never intimidated the members of UNATO, those we do not represent. We only utilized our membership of science teachers, science fraternity. And those are the people who were on industrial action. We did not tamper with the administration of the school. In fact, it is recent we are trying to see the bias in some of heads of institutions. And this is the bias that has been existing before. That's why they even went to head of state and started claiming wrong things. You see, if some head teachers were intimidating science teachers that they should not go for industrial action, while knowing that they have their union and they were defending the fund that was diverted. But today, you see them trying to connive that they want to close the schools. I'm even wondering, the issue is between art and science.
Isn't that an isolated incident?
Wait. Now, and the issue, if they want to claim that the government has enhanced salaries for science teachers, but of course which we reject, because government has enhanced salaries for all scientists, where science teachers belong. And it should be generalized that way, because that's how it is. But today, the schools that are striking are primary schools. You see that? Even majority which are being closed are primary schools, not secondary. And in the primary, we don't have science teachers. For us, we don't have science teachers in primary. That will represent.
All right.
So
that is very bad and very wrong.
I want to face this
camera. And we want to ask our colleagues
now, I want to face this camera.
That is representing as a legal council to respect our independence.
I want to face this camera.
As a union.
Yes.
My brother, in labor unions is what we call solidarity. I want to face this camera and tell Ugandans that science teachers who are members of Uganda Professional Science Teachers Union, they are free to go and teach because they are not our members. And nobody has stopped them from doing that.
Now,
let me finish. I'm again clarifying a position.
He's actually giving a position that is in line with what you're saying.
I'm in line with, you see, because he's psychologically
okay.
I want to repeat. Science teachers who are members of Uganda Professional Science Teachers Union.
By consent or by conscription?
Excuse me.
No, he's talking about your members.
You see,
he's saying your members. He's saying your members are allowed to go and teach. They are not stopping your members from teaching. That's what he's saying.
Mr. Mugiga.
Yes, please go on. Go on.
Don't be shy.
Let him clearly state it. All science teachers.
No. He's saying your members.
Don't be shy.
Because he still says, he still maintains that there are science teachers who are members of UNATO.
No, they are not there.
See, it is what I'm saying, my brother.
They are not. If they are there, let them command any, not to go and teach.
Have you come to shout or to
no, okay, what's your second point? Okay, what's
Council, I will not allow you to misrepresent science teachers in this station.
Okay.
I will not allow that one. Because you don't have that mandate.
Unfortunately,
Mr. Moderator, I'm sorry, I can't entertain this type of organism on this.
Unfortunately, I do not have the figures here. But, Mr. Mugiga,
yes, I was still clarifying that.
Just hold on. Would you like to put it on record that there are no science teachers that are members of UNATO?
There are no members, there are no science teachers in UNATO by consent. They are there by conscription, including our national chairperson, who was conscripted. Can you imagine that kind of job? We have our union. You still want to claim that you want to represent us. They went to head of state. They were presenting figures, that 4.8 million. We do not want that 4.8 million. we shall negotiate for ours.
Okay.
Let them negotiate for their members.
All right. Let
They
me
do
make
not
Mr.
represent
Moderator.
us.
You've made that
Now,
point.
Let
You-
me
no,
face
no,
the
no,
television.
no, no,
Let
no,
me
no,
face the
no,
camera.
No, you've
Let
made the
me
point.
face the camera.
Hold on, just
No,
hold
no,
on.
Gabriel.
No,
Let
hold
me
on.
face the camera
Mr.
and mention
Mugega,
it clearly.
hold
because
on,
I know they are watching
just
me.
hold on,
Yes,
just hold on,
yes.
because he was making his second point.
But let
And
me
you-
watch
no,
the camera and first talk about membership. Because that's where we have issues. They have been causing problems in KCC here where we are. Until 300 science teachers had to petition the executive director. A file of 300 forms petitioning the executive director. And the case is there, by the way.
Okay, so what's your
Soon
point
we
on
shall
membership?
take it.
So what's your point on membership?
My point of membership is very clear. That UNATU does not represent science teachers. And we shall not allow them to misrepresent us anymore.
Okay. And if
That
the si-
claiming
if-
that they
hold
have
on,
science
hold
teachers
on, hold on,
who they don't have membership forms.
hold on. Does a science
shall not accept
does a science teacher
Yes.
have a right to choose to belong to UNATU?
We have not stopped anyone. But is
Okay.
there anyone?
Okay. All
Wait,
right. No,
Gabriel,
it's okay.
have you seen
No.
anyone who has chosen to be in UNATU?
It's you see.
They are there by
I
conscription.
am not a part of any of the unions,
Yes,
so I
yes.
wouldn't
And
know.
this is the truth. I have evidence that 300 members in the KCCA who were being conscripted by UNATU because they
Okay.
are subscribing.
How many arts teachers are there?
Now-
Do you know how
now-
many arts
now-
teachers?
Are
My-
they their members?
My brother,
Yes.
That is
I
sabotage.
have a request to make to you, Mr. Moderator. My request to you is that, Mr. Mugega, let's be respectful.
This is modern debate. You have seen the big debate.
Let us,
You
let us-
debate it in a big way.
Mr.
Don't
Mr.
present
Mwebaze,
lies
Mr.
shout
Mwebaze,
before the
there's a
public.
second,
Don't shout.
point you wanted to make. If you could make that point.
being a big debate does not mean shouting without information. It means presenting
civil,
the issues
be
to
civil.
the
Don't
viewers.
use
Well,
the, be
yes, the good
civil.
thing is.
Me, I
being-
represent
being-
science
just hold
teachers.
on. Yes, and
I represent science
you have
teachers,
made that point.
and we have,
have made that-
cases of misrepresentation.
you have
That is
made-
what
and
he
we are
calls
going
big
to
debate.
present
You have-
them
you have made-
passionately.
What
you
is called big
you have
debate
made
is
that
Don't allow
point.
anybody to come and
You have
and
made that point.
misrepresent
Yes,
facts.
Mr. Mwebaze.
Incidentally, what he calls big debate is what he's interpreting as shouting. Here we bring issues,
But
not
the
shouting.
issues-
Now,
Mr.
the point I'm
yes,
saying,
please make
lies.
a point.
I want
Allow
to
him
make
to
lies
make,
and
allow
call
him to
them
make the
issues.
point.
How
allow
do you
him,
face the camera
allow
and
him
tell
to make,
people
allow
that you are
him,
representing science
could you
teachers
please allow
when
him?
everybody is aware
Could you
that
please-
recently when the
Could you
studio
please,
action
could you
count
please,
showing
could you please allow him to make the point?
That's 99%.
Because our viewers have actually heard what each
But
of
our
you.
viewers don't
Hold on.
need the lies.
No.
Let him be clear that they are representing
Our
arts
viewers,
teachers, not science teachers.
our viewers have heard.
Yes.
Have heard. And the last point he made is that he is not refusing any of your members from doing what your union is asking them to do, and that is go back to class. He's only calling upon his members. You know,
Who are the arts teachers?
He's calling upon his
Who
members.
are the
Hold
arts
on,
teachers?
Hold on.
You have to be very
hold
clear.
On, hold on.
Because science
Hold
teachers is a
on.
different
Just hold
constituent.
on.
I will not entertain
As
this type
just
of
hold on.
organism, my brother.
As a matter of fact, the members of UNATU are the members of UNATU. They get to belong to UNATU by following
choice.
certain processes. And I don't think one of those processes is stating what subject you teach. So he has a right to speak to his members, and that's who he's talking to at the moment.
And those are the arts teachers. I still insist.
No, his members. They are
Those
his.
are the arts teachers. We don't want misrepresentation
my brother.
of science
Okay,
teachers.
if you could make your point.
I'm requesting.
He
calls-
does not represent
Please
science
make your
teachers.
point.
No.
If he wants to debate around,
You do not represent science teachers.
He
Please.
has not made any such claim. He is talking to the.
His members, let him define them. Those are the arts teachers, not science teachers. We cannot allow that.
Okay.
What
If I,
you see-
okay, can
see-
you just allow me to say
you
this? Just
see-
a second. Could you just allow me to say this? Going by the names of your union,
institutions is
yours is called
Uganda
Uganda
National
National Teachers
Teachers
Union.
national.
That's what their union is called. Yours is called Uganda Professional Science.
Science, a clear constituent.
Yes.
Science
Yes,
teachers.
yes. But theirs does not say arts. It says teachers.
All teachers.
So
Let him represent other teachers.
it is
not
possible.
science teachers.
No.
It
you
is
see-
possible that a science teacher can choose to belong to, but it is not possible that an arts teacher can belong to your union.
And what we are saying, we have all the science teachers on our
Okay.
side.
All right.
Who is
yes,
he
and that
speaking
is and
for?
that is your
No.
position.
They are simply presenting figures,
Yes, and
concocted figures.
that is your
Mr.
position.
Moderator,
No,
yeah.
that is his position, and he's allowed to
You
have
see,
that position.
I
Could you please
respect-
make the
I
point? Could you please
respect
make the
it.
point?
Instead of shouting, let us please be respectful.
Okay. Yes.
Give your point, I give my point.
He has
The
made his
public-
point.
the
He has
public-
made his
the
point.
pub-
Now,
the public
if you
will
could
judge.
go ahead and-
The public will judge. I want to repeat again. Uganda Professional Science Teachers Union members who have previously subscribed to Uganda Professional Teachers Union, Uganda Science Teachers Union, they are free to follow the direction of their union. Uganda National Teachers Union is not telling them to go on strike because they are not our members.
All right. What's the second thing that you said you wanted to say?
Now, what I want to say is that what my brother needs to know is that belonging to labor union is a choice. You can have a science teacher who can choose to belong to Uganda
Okay.
National Teachers Union.
Yes, now
and
you
I want
make-
to give you.
now you- no,
I
you-
want to give you
No, I think
what our structure.
No, no. There's no need to go into that because those points have been made. We've clarified on how a member joins a union. So could we go to this? Their members are staying away from the schools, right? Why are you taking issue with this?
They are saying schools should be closed.
I haven't seen
Who
any
has
official
said that?
document where they're
You are
saying schools
members.
should be closed.
See,
We even have cases of where your general
do
secretary
you
has
have
called
any
some
circular
people.
issued by United saying schools should be
It's
closed?
not about circular.
We're asking members to stay
It's not
away.
about circular, my brother.
All right.
You see, Gabriel.
If I could just
let-
ask you,
do you
if I
know
could
why?
just- if I
do you
could
know why
just-
we
if I
become
could-
emotional when
if
we
I
are
could just,
handling
if I
this
could just
matter?
ask you another question,
Hey, yes,
if I could
please.
just ask you another question, when the science teachers were on strike, and you have referred to that strike, part of the placards that your members were carrying said this: behind every scientist is a teacher, and that seemed to generally say that all teachers should be treated the same.
I don't know those prior cards you are mentioning.
You're now going to deny
But
them.
for us, we are very specific.
I wish my team could
We are
put those
very
videos
specific
up because
on science teacher.
earlier this year, you were on strike
Yes, please.
because science teachers had been left out.
Yes. In the list of scientists.
Yes.
Yes.
And you carried placards that said behind every scientist is a teacher.
A science teacher.
No, is a teacher. Because you know that when you join secondary school in Uganda, you cannot just choose to do only science.
If I am to be a chemist, I don't have to study history.
In senior one, don't you study it?
That is still where there is general.
But that is
when we
secondary
finish
school.
senior four,
Yes,
when we finish senior four,
and their argument is this: teachers contribute along that chain.
that
Alright?
is building an individual.
Yes.
You see that?
Yes.
But building a scientist, this person has to study science. You see? So the chemistry at senior 1 to senior 4 is a foundation for chemists, engineers, industrialists, doctors. You see? When they reach senior 4, they choose to specialize. Go now specific into that area. But that doesn't mean that when they were studying all, that they needed to study Napoleon in order to become doctors. No. But to build a person as a wholesome individual, you need to look at that.
So what I wanted to
but
find
what is
out-
at hand is, the opportunity is for scientists. And our colleagues need to appreciate this. Science teachers are scientists.
Okay.
It is as simple as that.
All right.
It doesn't have to create a lot of emotions and confusion.
And for you, it is okay that a section of teachers will be enhanced and another section
No,
will
it's
be
not
left
about
out.
a section of teachers. It's about scientists. By the way, money is not for teachers. In fact, I had some MP on one of the stations, and the man was busy misleading the public that, science teachers are not scientists. Can you imagine a full member of parliament mentioning that. I even wondered what kind of representation his people have in parliament. Because, you see, Gabriel, you know, when we come here,
let's
the reason why you see
let's first go back to
us
the,
being specific.
No, let's first go back to the question.
Against
let's first go back to the question that I have asked.
Yes, please.
Is it your position that it is okay for a certain section of teachers to receive an enhancement and another section not to receive it?
Now, Gabriel, I don't want you to put me in a corner which is not a good one. I want you to understand and you tell the public
but that's exactly
the correct thing. The correct thing here is a policy targets to enhance salaries for all scientists, but the government is unable to do that for all at once. For all workers, is unable to do that at once. It has decided to start with a section of workers, not just a section of teachers, but a section of workers. And that section is of scientists.
Okay.
Because the workers exist in two categories. We have workers who are scientists and workers who are non-scientists.
Okay.
And they cut across all departments of government.
All right.
Where education also...
Okay, so you've given that answer.
Yes.
So if I may now also ask, because of that government policy, there's going to be a discrepancy between, if it is followed, what the science teachers will be paid and what the arts teachers will be paid.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And this is not to say that this is what the UNATU is advocating for, but it's something that has come up in this debate. So that the teachers, all the teachers, whether scientists or arts, so that all the teachers move together, is it something that the science teachers can consider, that this figure that is going to be used to enhance teachers in particular is distributed across the board to take care of all teachers?
One, the discrepancy you are talking about is not only in teaching. Even in local government, a personnel who is earning a certain figure, 900,000, but an agriculture officer is going to go to 4 million. So to particular it only to teaching is itself wrong. Number two, we have no problem with arts teachers being enhanced salaries. But our problem is somebody claiming that science teachers should not benefit in the category of scientists. That one we are against it. Number three, to say that the amount of money that has been earmarked for science teachers be distributed across the board, we reject that in totality. And should that be done, we shall not be able to go for to offer any services. Number three, that is what we are telling our brothers. You don't have to target our fund.
All right.
You have to negotiate with government for your own fund. Because if this money is distributed to all these teachers, the increment will be 30,000. If you claim to be a labor union that cares for all teachers, why don't you negotiate for yours?
All right.
Must
so
you target
leave the
ours
science
that we already
teachers
announced?
to enjoy what they
And
have
we
got.
want to be very
Go
clear
and
by
make
the
your
way.
own.
Gabriel.
Yes. Go and make your own negotiation to
Don't
benefit
target
the members
the
of
one for
UNATU.
science teachers.
My brother, Mr. Moderator, I want to again face the camera and tell the public that Uganda National Teachers Union is not against enhancement of salaries of science teachers. We have not said anywhere where we have appeared either in meetings, either in the media, that we are against the increment of science teachers. This one, I want it very clear on record. What we are saying is that let us be fair. Even in the agreement that we negotiated with government, you can see a scientist was destined to earn more than an arts teacher. Then we cannot come again, be the ones to say that science teachers' salaries shouldn't be enhanced. We have recently, the science teachers have been on industrial action. We did not come up anywhere to attack Uganda Professional Science Teachers Union when they were championing their cause of increasing their salaries. What disturbs me today is the energy and the zeal the Professional Science Teachers Union is using to attack Uganda National Teachers Union when we showed solidarity and called on government to enhance their salaries in accordance with what they had been promised.
But they also say that you have attacked them, especially at this time when they are receiving the enhancement that they have pushed for.
My brother,
it's clear, everybody sees it.
when you are talking, I kept quiet.
But you see me,
let him respond.
See,
because
I don't like
because you'd also like the response to the question I
what
just
I want
asked
to
him.
say, Mr. Mugiga, you don't have monopoly over information, and you are not a judge of whether I'm telling lies or the truth. I can also choose to say what you are saying, what you are telling the public are lies, but I choose to keep quiet even when they are lies because I know.
If you see lies, identify them. But we should not misinform.
So
them.
yes, could you please respond to the? Okay, if you could just yes, could you please
My brother,
respond to the
this is not a
question?
shouting competition.
Okay,
I've
could
not
you
come
please-
here to shout with Mr. Mugiga.
Yes.
I've come here to debate.
Okay, please respond to the question.
So, please, you have your diary and your pen, note down. If I make a lie, you'll have the opportunity to undo the lie that I would have made. So, I've been patient enough with you. Just keep quiet and listen
But
to what
you
I'm
see,
saying.
there are lies
Okay,
that
so Mr. Weber say, yes.
There are lies that cannot wait.
Excuse me, civilized people don't debate the way you
All
are
right,
debating.
gentlemen, if we can't move on from that point, I think I'm going to ask
the point
another
I'm
question.
saying, the point I'm saying is that we are on record to have showed solidarity and we stood with Uganda Professional Science Teachers Union when they were demanding for their pay because we feel and believe that every teacher deserves a right to be paid well. So we have not in any way, we have not been quoted anywhere fighting Uganda Professional Science Teachers Union. Another issue is when they had their industrial action, we are comfortable seated and we only offered them support and said and called on government to support them and give them what they promised them. But why is it that this time, instead of teaching, they are not on industrial action, instead of teaching, they are moving in each and every media house, pretending to be talking on behalf of government, that the government has a good plan for us teachers. Where the government has fallen short of explaining to the public, it is the Uganda Professional Science Teachers Union that is at the forefront of explaining to the public that the government has goodwill for them. I want to tell them that that's not the spirit of unionism, that's not the spirit of solidarity that should be exhibited by a labor union. Moreover, the General Secretary of a labor
So
union.
as we come
I'm
to
still submitting.
Gentlemen, as
I'm
we
still
come,
submitting.
we need to
That's
start
an
drawing to
attack
a
on
close.
our union.
Because of time, we need to start drawing to a close, and
Yes.
if you could allow for this to happen. We need to draw to a close. So we're going to watch a clip in relation to what happened today, and we're going to get...
But you have allowed it something
to-
the man has put before the public to go with unanswered.
You have responded to it.
No, he's saying that we are moving to every media station speaking on behalf of government. We need to state our position, Mr. Gabriel.
And you
this
have
debate has to be balanced.
And you have
has to be balanced.
You have stated your position here.
He has said that they stood in solidarity with us and that they are not against enhancement for science teachers. But it's the same gentleman who was with here in this studio. The document they presented to the head of state. It had, in fact, they never asked for the head of state to enhance salaries for arts teachers. They simply asked for the head of state to instead withdraw this money from science teachers and either distribute it across the board or all of us remain down.
Now today on the show,
is that
just a second. Today on the show, he has said that they have no problem with the enhancement of science teachers.
When he's claiming that they are representing them, and what are they representing?
It's you who is saying that, because he has said that they do not represent any of the members of your union.
And those are the science teachers we are talking about.
Yes.
Gabriel.
Okay.
Gabriel.
No. Can we? I'd like to ask the technical team to play the clip, and we will get the reactions of our guests on those messages.
We presented our case, and government kept saying they don't have the money. but they assigned ministries of education, public service, and finance to look into the matter. Since that time, they have been silent until today when we saw a letter coming, only intimidating the teachers. It is not addressing the issue which we presented. It is only intimidating and indicating that our industrial action is illegal. I want to make it categorically clear that our industrial action is legal. And we were only resuming from where we stopped in 2019. And therefore, for us as Uganda National Teachers Union, the industrial action is still on until government addresses the plight of teachers. So her intimidation is uncalled for, and she cannot take it anywhere. She goes ahead in the same letter to say that those who are aggrieved should go to court. He who alleges has the duty to prove. If she's saying the industrial action is illegal, let her take UNATU to court, but not us taking her to court.
That's the Secretary General, and you have stated that that is the final position, right?
Yes, that's true and correct.
Okay. And what happens to the members who have been asked to go back to the schools by 24th? What happens if they do not go to school? Is UNATU concerned that, you know, they will actually
you see,
suffer the fate that the
there is
PS
no
says?
there is no fate that they are going to suffer because, unless we have started living in a state of anarchy. Uganda is a country that is governed and ruled under the principle of rule of law.
Okay.
So, unless the permanent secretary is telling us that all the laws in Uganda have been suspended and we are living under the state of anarchy and decrease, to that extent we shall accept. But as long as the permanent secretary still believes that Uganda is governed by the laws which include the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda and Acts of Parliament, then I want to face this camera and tell our members that the industrial action they are on is protected by the law, and there is nobody who should intimidate them.
All right. You have said they shouldn't be intimidated. You know, these are threats. You attended the meeting with the President and the Minister of Education. The Minister of Education in particular also referred to threats coming from UNATU, and that, you know, that is not a way of working with government. You're claiming threats are being made, but they're also saying you are making threats.
Gabriel, I attended the meeting, but that's not what the minister said. The minister said that in our demand, we use the spirit of unionism. And in her view is that we should talk as one family. She didn't, I don't remember her referring us as people who are using threats. Her language, her concern was that we use the spirit of unionism instead of talking as children of one family. And we are a union. If you say we use the spirit of unionism, that is what we stand for. And like I was telling you, is that for us, Uganda National Teachers Union, we stand for the principle of fairness, non-discrimination, and equality of all members.
Okay.
That is why we say that we have no problem with the increase of the salaries of science teachers because they are teachers too.
All right, excellent. Mr. Mugeiga, as the UNATO members say they are aggrieved and therefore are going to continue with their industrial action, are you going to support them?
On their industrial action, I think that is their own. We have no problem with their industrial action.
Are you going to support us?
Our only issue is
No, but
we can only support them.
are you going to support them? Because
We
they
can
say
only support
they
them.
say they supported you.
You see,
Are you going to support
where
them?
was that support? You see, there is mentioning a word just for the sake of mentioning. But when actually the precarity was not there.
Okay, so
in
are you
terms
going
of
to
activity.
are you going to support them?
You see, we have always been with these people. We have talked to them. We will always support them as long as they are negotiating for a share of their members.
Exactly.
But we will not support them at any one moment if their target is to pull down science teachers like they did in 2018. We will not support them.
Okay.
He is talking of that we are moving everywhere. I am happy that they are feeling that we are moving everywhere because we are alert. Beaten once, twice, shy. We suffered the same tactics they are employing today in 2018. I told you earlier, science teachers were paid for 3 months, 2.2 million graduates, 1.2 million diploma cadres,
All right.
and removed.
So,
they want to do the
gentlemen,
same.
where does this leave the learner?
So, Gabriel and our brothers, let that be clear to everybody.
Yes. Where
And-
does it?
and
So where
even-
does this? You
even
made the
government,
point.
we made
So
it
where
clear
does
to
this
government.
leave the learner?
The learner, of course, it's a big challenge always. You know, these learners have been from lockdown. They spent 2 years in lockdown not studying. So any form of industrial action by a teacher really affects them negatively and badly, by the way. You will realize that we are running a bridged curriculum where content of 2 years was combined into one. So any loss of time is really very detrimental. So we wouldn't wish teachers to be on industrial action. And that's why we are appealing to especially when they came in the line of starting to attack our pay enhancement, we became very furious, and we shall continue alert. We will not allow anybody to tamper, because this is a policy has already been implemented.
But that one has nothing to do with the learners. That has
It
everything
has something
with
to do. You know, you can't start. Let me tell you, Gabriel, why it is. When you use wrong strategies, you end up affecting everybody. The budgeting process has been on. For us, we announced industrial action in April. UNATO was quiet. The budget was completed, the cycle was completed. When they are watching, it was read on the 14th of June. They start the industrial action on 15th June. What were they targeting?
All right.
In fact, we wonder, by the way, let me tell you, Gabriel, we wonder. That's why sometimes it becomes very hard for us to come out to say that we are supporting such kind of actions whose strategy is really lacking.
All right. Mr. Mwebaza, where does that leave the learner?
My brother,
Because you're the ones who have called this industrial action.
it rather disturbs me for my colleague here who has just been on industrial action a month ago when the school term was ongoing. He doesn't blame himself for the damage and the pain that he caused to the learner when his union was on industrial action, but he chooses to blame a sister union for the actions that are resulting out of an industrial action.
For the wrong strategy.
To that one, I'm leaving it to the viewer. Excuse me.
I'm not blaming on industrial action. I'm blaming on a wrong
Could
strategy.
you
Gabriel, next time,
briefly tell
next time
us?
before I'm invited on this show, I request that I debate with a civilized person.
Could you please
No,
let
I
us-
will also not relate to those instances.
Gentlemen, we have to bring this to a close.
So-
I know.
We need to bring this to a
Gabriel,
close.
I've not blamed this union industry.
Could you please now allow him? Could you allow him?
But why would I allow him to continue? Then he
If
comes
this- if this one has
But
done-
you see,
if-
when you were speaking, he allowed you
I'm
to
a
make your
civilized
point,
lawyer.
even when he didn't agree with your
But
point. Could you please
he
allow him?
doesn't find-
Could you allow him to make his point? Could you allow him to make
This
his point?
program
So
has a
where
model-
does that leave the learner?
Gabriel, I've stated on this show before that Uganda National Teachers Union does not take pressure in industrial actions. We know that the industrial action affects the learners, and we know that it makes them lose their time. But you need to also understand that in order to achieve the quality of education which the learners are looking for, the welfare of teachers must be addressed for the learners to get the quality of education. So in most cases, it is always very prudent to start with negotiations before you go for industrial action. Industrial action is always the last resort that the labor union can resort to
Right.
in furtherance of
And if
labor dispute.
government sticks to its guns,
So
what are you going to do?
we trust and believe that the government will understand that there is a legally binding agreement which they need to respond to, which they need to implement. And like I've told you, the spirit of negotiation is not the spirit of threats. And when we met His Excellency the President directed Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Public Service and Education to look into the harmonization
Yes,
of our
and
salaries.
Ministry of Public Service has
And-
returned with a letter.
No, that's why we are telling them that this is not the spirit of negotiation that is envisaged in a collective bargaining agreement and recognition agreement and in line with the directive of His Excellency the President. This is not what is envisaged. Instead of calling us to negotiate on the terms on how the welfare of a teacher can be improved, then they return with this intimidation letter. This is not what is envisaged within the law. And we want to condemn this in the strongest terms and call and demand that the permanent secretary should immediately henceforth withdraw this letter and sit on negotiating table and negotiate with the teachers to get what they were promised.
All right, I believe that's your parting shot.
I
Right?
thought we still have time to.
No, we don't. No, we don't. Mr. Mugega, if we could have your parting shot as well.
I think the conclusive remarks, isn't it?
Yes.
One, our position still remains very clear that science teachers are not in industrial action, and all science teachers for that matter, because we have
Who are members of your union?
we have all science teachers on our side. That's what I mean. And they should continue teaching. This is your message, science teachers. Continue teaching. Our agreement with government has been honored in the budget financial year 2022-2023.
Wait, which agreement with government? Because you said this is an implementation of a whole policy on enhancement. So which
remember,
agreement are
they
you
had
referring to?
removed us from the list.
No, so which agreement are you referring to?
This one of the policy. Cabinet approved the policy,
So it's the policy.
including
Okay.
science
It's
teachers.
perfect.
Yes.
It's okay. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Then from public service, they had removed science teachers from the list of
Yes, it's okay.
beneficiaries.
We've gotten what you
Very
mean.
good.
Yes.
So we agreed that they have to be part of the beneficiaries, and they are on the list, and their funds have been provided. So there is no need or any reason whatsoever for them to be on industrial action. So we ask them to continue to remain calm, because these sentiments, like recently when these people came from State House, they came and lied to the public and caused a lot of tension and pressure.
You
to
want
the
to
science
open
teachers.
up new issues as we
So,
end.
so we want to appeal to them to calm down. That whichever voice is negative, we shall contend with them until we wrestle them down. This time round, we will not allow anybody to tamper with the enhancement for science teachers as scientists. And then to the public,
Hear the language.
the debate
Wrestle them down.
has been reduced to be an issue of science versus arts teachers, which is very wrong. And we want to condemn it in the strongest terms possible. It is not an issue of a science teacher versus an arts teacher. And that is what these people have caused actually in the public, causing a lot of commotion. The issue is the policy targets two categories of employees, scientists and non-scientists. And they are starting with scientists, where science teachers belong. What makes science teachers to be part of the beneficiaries in this first phase is their ticket of being scientists, which they earned by studying a course in science. Right. After studying a course in science, they added education to become teachers. And that shouldn't be a ticket for condemnation.
All right.
So they have to benefit as scientists. And we shall stand to defend that to the last dot.
All right, we have to leave it there because we are out of time. Well, at the end of the day, when the elephants fight, it seems like it's the grass that suffers. We've got to do everything to ensure that the children, the learners, do not continue to suffer, but also that everybody who does a job is paid in a way that's commensurate to the work that they are doing. We hope that a harmonized position will be found for the benefit of the country and of the learners. We have to end here for tonight's edition of The Big Debate. I would like to thank our two guests, Mr. Mwebaze and Mr. Mugeiga, for being part of The Big Debate. Until next week when we return with another edition from me and our guests, it's a good night. God bless you. Stay tuned to the rest of the broadcasting here on CTV. Bye-bye.